Okay, so I know I'm not here today, but I just wanted to go through really quick finding the slope of a line from 2 points. I mean, if you're looking at a graph, you can just find 2 nice points and then use those points to do the same thing that we're about to do here. You'll notice that in each example I have 1 point's blue and 1 point's red, and that's because that's how I'm going to keep track of who I use first and who I use second. So you'll see that, okay? Remembering that slope is rise over run, and you rise in the y direction and you run in the x direction, and so that's why the y's are on the top and the x's are on the bottom. Okay, so it doesn't matter which point that you use first. You could use this blue point first, or you could use this red point first. It's totally up to you. But you do want to recognize that the first coordinate is an x and the second coordinate is a y in both points. So when you go to put the points in, you're going to put the y of that point on the top of the x of that point. So you're going to have, and let's say we use the red point first, we're going to have a -7 on the top and a 1 on the bottom, because whoever's related to who will go right underneath, okay? Same thing with the blue, the y would go on the top and the x would go on the bottom, and that's your setup. Notice how I already have this black part set up, because this will help minimize my errors, because you're going to take the difference of the y's over the difference in the x's, making sure that each point is represented. If you went first with this y, you have to go first with his x. That's just the way it is. Okay. Then you'll do your problem, and usually with subtraction I add my opposite. So I have debt and debt, so I have more debt. I have money and debt, and I have more debt, so I'm going to have debt there. But to simplify this, we have a negative over a negative, which will then become a positive. Okay, so that's my slope for this one. So we're going to do the same thing. Notice how here I started with that point. Now I'm going to start with the first point. Okay, so we're going to start with the first point. Again, if you're having trouble with this, put your x and your y above your values, okay? So remember, rise over run, so y's are on the top, x's are on the bottom. So we'll start with this point, and because this is our y, he will go on top, and this is our x, he will go on the bottom. I fill in my points instead of my y's first, just because that's the way I do it. So 3 is my y, and -4 is my x. And so now all I have to do is get my value for that. Again, this is subtraction, so we add the opposite. And we have 3 and -3, that makes a 0. 5 and a 4, that makes a 9. But anytime that you have 0 on the top, the value is just going to be 0. So the answer is 0. Not 0 over 9, but 0. That is the neatest way to write that. So the slope is 0. Now, if we were to graph these points, just to give you an idea of what a 0 slope looks like, you have -4, 3, and you have, let's say 1, 2, 3, and you have 5, 3, and when you graph that line, you can see that it's a horizontal line, with my perfect line, of course. Okay. Now, if we were going over this one right here, it doesn't matter which one we start with, and because I've always started with the red, I'm going to start with something blue. So again, we have the x here, the y there, x here, y there, and we're going to put the y on top and the x on the bottom. The y on top, the x on the bottom, and then we go ahead and work it out. So we're going to add the opposite, so now that's +6, and we're going to add the opposite, so now that's a -2. I hope you can see that. Okay, so we have money, money, so we have money. 2 plus a -2, that zeroes out. And we cannot divide by a 0. Can't divide by a 0. So we're left with, we have to write something else. We can't have slope because we can't have this, so we can't have a value for slope. So we can either say no slope, or you can say undefined. So let's see what this graph would have looked like. Let me go ahead and grab the black pen again. Okay, so 2, 5, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be right here. And 2, -6, 2, -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be right here. So those are our 2 dots, and then our points, sorry. And then our line would be just like that. And so that's what a line that has no slope or undefined slope is. Now, I always would talk about Johnny, and Johnny would always walk from right to left. When Johnny walked on this, he would be able to walk, but he'd walk very slowly. But if Johnny tried to walk on this, it wouldn't work out. Okay, so you couldn't walk on it, you couldn't ski on it, you'd go straight down. Now, we've talked about something with no slope. We saw the picture of something with 0 slope. We're going to back up a little bit, and we're going to look at this. This is a positive slope. So if we put our 2 points in, two, 5, and 1, -7. Of course, this is going to be pretty hard for me to draw, especially on the board. But basically, your line goes straight down like that. But it has enough of a, I shouldn't say straight down. It does have a little bit of a tilt to it. So Johnny would have a hard time walking up this because it's pretty steep. I mean, the slope is 12, but he would have somewhere to put his foot, basically. So there's a difference between being really, really steep and being straight up and down. So if we look over here, you can see how the x's are the same. That's the straight up and down. Okay? So the x's are the same, that's the straight up and down. But when the x's are just a little bit apart, like 1, then it would be more steep, especially if we've got a larger number on the top. Because like as we were talking about, if I went from this point to this point, I'd have to rise 12 and run 1. I'd rise 12 and run 1, and that's where we get the 12, because 12 over 1 is 12. Okay, well, hopefully that helps you with your homework, and I will see you tomorrow.